So, Kevin, back to your transfer portal philosophy of sorts. So, I think a lot of people out there, whether they have legitimate platforms or not, have some level of platform, and they tend to say, here's a weakness, here's an opportunity here, here's a player over here who is buried on the depth chart at that particular position. I'm going to connect the two, and then I'm going to phrase it in such a way that makes it actually sound like there is actual contact and interest between those two parties. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I think they should go get him or that type of player, that position, because they need it. But people have been making that connection, linking Kienholz to Iowa. So you're telling us there's nothing other than people's speculation that Iowa could use a quarterback. This guy's really good, and he's buried on the depth chart.
I will read from a very good friend of mine who is a preeminent source at Iowa, and I quote, "Zero truth to it. Iowa has no idea where it came from," end quote. I don't know what else I have to say at that point. It angers me that such a horseshit rumor has carried as much weight as it has, because it's not fair to the kids at this point. Yes, they're getting paid. I mean, yes, they're blurring the line between amateurism and professionalism, and you're opening yourselves up to more talk and everything else. But it's not as if this thing has the genesis of this rumor has come even from an ancillary sort of I've heard of person or organization or whatever. It's just the proliferation of white noise from social turning falsehoods into truths. And then, I'm sure Lincoln Kienholz is having to sit there and answer stuff for, maybe, not from us. We're not going to get to talk to him, but from people around him and everything else. And it just, we're only a couple of weeks away from the portal. Keep your panties on, everybody. I mean, it's going to get wild here. We're going to see names entering the portal at various schools everywhere that we're not expecting or whatever. But, let's slow our roll.
When Caden Proctor announced he was leaving Iowa and going back to Alabama, then everybody was like, is Caleb Downs leaving? And there are rumors out there, and there are people from Alabama contacting, trying to get any truth to that. Like, is this true? Is this really happening? It's like, wouldn't you know if it was? Wouldn't you, as Alabama, know if this was really happening? So, and the thing is, though, the portal breeds this, social media breeds it, and it's kind of the world we're in right now. And there are a bunch of accounts out there where it's frustrating, where you're trying to, you're just doing your job, and then you got people hitting you in DMs. Hey, have you seen this? Is this real? Is this that and this? And I tell people, if you just look at the source, you can do a lot of research on Twitter just by doing a Twitter search and seeing how far something goes back. And generally you can find the starting point of many rumors. And if they're started by troll accounts or, 122 followers, and, you look at some of their replies and their tweets and it's just all trash to bashing people and things like that, you can sort of understand, okay, no truth there. So it gets a little frustrating dealing with stuff like that, but it is what it is. And so, there's going to be more rumors. And the thing is, there are going to be so many rumors this spring with the portal that, I don't know. I don't want to say it's almost safer to believe them, because it's not, but there are going to be some rumors that are unbelievable that will actually absolutely be true.
Before Steve jumps in, I just want to say this. It forces legitimate organizations and personalities to have to address them, because they gain so much steam behind them that you have to come out and write an article or make a message board post or do a show or whatever. And we all have enough stuff to do. We don't have to go out and go snipe hunting. / end of rant.
Yeah, Lincoln would be within his rights to see what's out there, and you wish tampering and everything else is involved in things like this. Guys who haven't entered the portal are not supposed to be contacted in these type things. So, I guess you just kind of look at it and take it all with a grain of salt. And I guess we'll see what happens when spring's over and the portal opens and guys can jump in. So I guess we'll find out next week where things are at.
I mean, I don't expect Ohio State to be carrying 5 quarterbacks going into fall.
Probably not.
But this, Kienholz to Iowa, and somebody posted in the chat, why there? Well, I guess when you grow up in South Dakota and you're an Ice Station Zebra, I mean, Iowa is somewhat close. Iowa certainly has the need for quarterbacking. Cade McNamara has not been able to stay healthy, so we don't know what that might look like, and we certainly don't know whatever the opposite of apocalyptic, whatever this era looks like for Iowa with the departure of Brian Ferentz. Maybe it becomes a little bit more of a quarterback destination. I mean, I guess anything is more than 0, but I don't get it. And if you're a Wiseman, I would just stay away from this one.
I will say,
go ahead, Tony.
Lincoln Kienholz at one time committed to Kalen DeBoer at Washington, but I'm not kicking anybody into the portal. I just wanted to throw that out there just to
DeBoer's revenge.
Chum in the water.
He's a better thrower than Jalen Milroe. I'll just say that right now.
My last little slice on this, going back to the more big topic picture of what Kevin addressed, is I will put some level of responsibility, although there are all sorts of non-credible sources and platforms and YouTube channels. Go back to what Rick Riley once said when I was at a luncheon with him, and he said the great thing about the internet is everybody's got a platform, and the horrible thing about the internet is everybody's got a platform, because knuckleheads are out there that have no idea what they're talking about, or not journalists in any such way. I do not promote myself to be a journalist, but I was at one time, so I know the approach. I will put it at the feet of the viewer and the listener, though, at times, because we've all been victim to, you did not listen to what I presented. You did not listen. You looked at a title, or you heard a name here and a name here, and then you were not listening. You were not paying attention. I did not say that. I did not report that. Nothing of that. Okay.
Well, I mean, really quick, the thing is that if you do a show that is based on engagement, which what we're doing here on YouTube or what's on ABC, or you want viewership, so you have to address the stuff that's out there. But having to amplify these things sucks, because you don't know where it's coming from, and we're going to talk about it or whatever, but it's a vicious cycle. And I had to stand outside with the dog in the rain for 10 minutes earlier while she was deciding if she wanted to go to the bathroom or not, so I'm already in a bad mood. But I have had to answer the Kienholz question no less than 200 times in the last week, and it takes away from my opportunity to do anything that is based in fact. If you end up having to do a show about it, that's a show that you're having to do a show on something that may do crazy numbers or whatever, but it's going to be looked back upon. It's like, well, at least we did crazy numbers there, even though it was, Herky, 41-41 that put this thing out there, and he's FOS, since I've already hit my quota of swear bombs that I can drop on the show. He's FOS. It just cheapens everything.
I saw a Michigan post of somebody today where they were listing the all-time great teams, and Michigan teams somehow made like 4 of the top 7 slots, along with the great Miami teams. And it was like, now come on.
Are these teams from like the 19 Dickities? I mean,
yeah, they were in there too. Sure.
Seriously.
2023 was the greatest team of all time. Yes.
Well, they're trying to say this Connecticut team that we just saw win the national championship was one of the greatest teams of all time. And, they're great, but, they've been better, no doubt.
I mean, I know this isn't a Connecticut show or a basketball show, but I mean, I kind of want to fight people on that one. They were the best team hands down this year.
This year, yeah.
But there was such a chasm between where UConn was and everybody else. It doesn't mean that this UConn team was in the pantheon of all-time great teams. They were just better than a bunch of lukewarm dog spit this year that we saw out.
Yeah, I agree. And here we are, big. It will be a full quarter century between drinks of water for the Big Ten and men's basketball. So, oh well, what can we do?
We got Maryland.
And here I saw somebody, Jim Rome, did a thing with Izzo yesterday, and I think his comments were, "I hate the transfer portal. I don't like NIL." And I'm like, if I'm Michigan State, I'm like, hey, bro, we got to embrace what's happening in 2025 and not live in 1997. And, the way things were is no longer the way things are. And either you embrace it and update your methods to what's going to work in 2025, or you got to go. I mean, it just take your pick. I mean, he's on national radio. The toothpaste is out of the tube. There is nothing they can do to restrict transfers for the rest of time. It is done. The courts decided it, or at least they got an injunction against it, and will probably win on the merits whenever it comes up, because you can't, if you have Joe, Smith, who's just a regular undergrad, and he can go to Ohio University for one semester and then go to Ohio State University the next semester, and then Cincinnati the following year, you can't restrict a student athlete just because of that, just because on the basis of competitive whatever, for college athletes. I just, that they lost that battle. They lost this whole thing when they didn't. The moment California put that law in place 5 years ago was when the NCAA needed to circle the wagons and say, we got to reconfigure our paradigm, and they didn't do that. And instead, they said, no, we're going to continue to, at Ohio State, collect $275 million, disperse it among scholarships, and pay for all these administrators, coaches, trainers, nutritionists, janitors, et cetera, buildings, et cetera, and not give the athletes a dime of real cash money. That's when you fumbled the football, boys. That was the day you fumbled the ball, and that model and the toothpaste is all out of the tube.
To Steve's point, he was talking about the Bear Alexander plan of a different school every year, but then it came out in the walk back that he wasn't going to leave USC. Once again, bringing this all full circle, talking about horse bleep rumors out there and everything else. But if you're a talking head, and here we are, 4 floating heads here on the screen right now, so I guess we're all talking heads as well. But if you're a talking head out there, you don't have to like NIL. You don't have to like the transfer portal. But if you are just, if you can't do a show about it because you're just so anti that, then you're a problem. I mean, you're just a crotchety old fart, and you need to find something else to do. I mean, I think, there's certain aspects of the transfer portal that I don't like. I've always been very big into player empowerment. I don't have an issue with NIL. I don't particularly like the lawless system we have in place right now, but I don't want to get back to the way of, the old Jim Delaney laundry money conversation or anything else like that. Oh, here's a roll of quarters, kid. Be able to go wash your skivvies. But, Steve mentioning the name Jim Rome is the first time I've heard the name Jim Rome in probably 4 years. Yeah,
he's kind of in the witness protection program, where he used to be like the preeminent guy in the late 90s and early 2000s. An example with Ohio State basketball is Roddy Gale. He went from 4 points a game to 13 points a game, working with Jake Diebler and, Holtman, whoever. They got his best basketball out of him. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he somehow gives them 13 points, some decent defense, sometimes 5 or 6 rebounds. And, this coach, Jake Diebler, pushed him to the moon. and the season ends and he goes into the portal, and then you're just kind of like, where are you going to find more money in NIL in a better situation, in a team that's on the come, any better than Ohio State, and a coach who believes in you and pushed you to the moon? I mean, who recruited you out of high school, and you're turning your back on all that. I don't see the purpose or the point to it. I understand you want to look around. Okay, St. John's can offer me 300,000. Can you guys offer me 350? I get, you want full price for your services. He may get out there and find that there was no better place than Ohio State, and maybe like Bryson Rogers did in football, turn around and say, I want to come back to Ohio State. And then it'll be on Jake Diebler to figure out if he's still got a spot for him. But, I just, the short-sightedness of some of these decisions, you just sit here and you just scratch your head. Like, what, why, what are you looking for? What do you want? You already have it.
2 words on that one. Third uncle. That one is a third uncle situation. You will not change my mind on that one. Third uncle.
I thought the 2 words are going to be more money.
More money, more money, more money. No.
It has to be money related, but Ohio State theoretically should be able to give him whatever he wants or needs. I mean, you'd think, but whatever.
I mean, hell, the guy that wouldn't play him 2 years ago until the very, very, very end is gone and has been cast into the pit of basketball obscurity at DePaul.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is what it is.